My parents are Clark Pearson and Suzanne Gardner from Richfield. They had 5 children, so it's myself and 3 brothers and a sister. I am the second to youngest. First off, my dad taught me how to enjoy the outdoors. He taught me how to hunt and pass on his love for hunting, as well as a love for classic cars and some of my hobbies. And then most importantly, he taught me how to be a hard worker. My mom, she taught me how to depend on the Lord and build a personal relationship with Him. And she did that at a very young age for me. My parents, unfortunately, they did divorce when I was 8, and that led to a lot of trials and hardships throughout my childhood. But she taught me depend on the Lord. The last thing that she taught me right before she passed away, she died of cancer, brain cancer, about 8 years ago. And she taught me to always be thankful no matter what. And she just kept telling me that over and over. Always be thankful no matter what. And that's a lesson that's really stuck with me. Here she was going through that battle, and she was still thankful all the way up to the very end. It's taught me, or at least tried to teach me, to be more patient and more understanding. One of the things that I try to do with my children is to try to see some things from their perspectives and try to coach and mentor more than I just boss around. It's given me a better appreciation and a deeper understanding of the love that our Heavenly Father has for me as His child and for all of His children. When I was 17, I was a junior in high school, and I had the opportunity to join the National Guard. So I signed up and I went to basic training between my junior and senior year of high school. Long story short, I fast forward a couple of years, I went on a mission, learned a foreign language, and at that point in the military I decided to had an opportunity to go into counterintelligence and become a special agent. So I raised my hand for that. It was much more fun than the previous job I was doing in the military. Fortunately, I really found counterintelligence fascinating, and 9/11 hit about that time. I was going to school here at SUU, and I decided that I would join ROTC and get a commission as an officer, and that I would try to serve my full 20 years career in the Army Reserve. I had the opportunity to serve in Iraq as a company commander. That taught me a lot. We ran the interrogation facility for the entire war at the theater level. And that was right after the Abu Ghraib scandal that was all over the news. So we went in and we replaced the unit that was responsible for that fiasco. When I got back from Iraq, I had used some intelligence systems, some software systems, when we were there, and Northrop Grumman had built those systems for the government and the military. They asked what I thought of those systems, and I told them that they stunk, because they did. They were not user-friendly, and we didn't use them, and we needed those capabilities to fight the war. So they hired me to fix it. I was able to build systems for Northrop Grumman, for the military community and the intelligence community. And I had the opportunity to be the chief architect for the human intelligence and counterintelligence system that was used across all of the Army and also through much of the intelligence community. So that was really, really an awesome opportunity. About 7 years ago, I was given the opportunity to join another company. I pivoted a little bit with my skill set there and joined a pre-sales engineering team. I've led that team in support of the defense industry and also federal healthcare industry. That's what I do to this day. And about 3 years ago, I retired from the Army Reserve. So I'm happy to have my weekends back. So my faith journey is it's been an interesting one. I mentioned earlier that my parents divorced at an age I was 8 years old, but it was a very difficult divorce. I had, like I said, 4 siblings, but my parents couldn't agree on a custody situation, so we were split. And 2 siblings went with my mom, and my brother and I went with my dad. And my oldest brother ended up going with my grandparents. And so not only did I lose a parent that I was living with, but I also lost living with siblings. And so that was very difficult. My mom taught me the importance of depending on the Lord. So I learned right then at a very early age that that's what I had to do. And I had to become very independent because as hard as dads try, they just can't do some things that moms can do. And as a little kid at 8 years old, you need those types of things. So I learned at 8 years old to do my own laundry, cook my own meals, etc., etc. When I was 11 years old, my dad decided to move back to the family ranch. I went from being a city boy to a country boy kind of overnight. And that was, on one hand, it was kind of fun. On the other hand, it was also very challenging. I think my dad just I think he had a midlife crisis and kind of checked out at the time. And we lived without electricity and without running water for several months. And so I remember doing homework by light of a candle and by light of a lantern for for months at a time, actually. But, with that, I've learned to be grateful for running water and hot water and electricity when I flip on the light switch. When I was 15, Dad got remarried, and long story short, I ended up living by myself, alone, without any parents for several months, for pretty much all of my sophomore year of high school. The crazy thing is, now that I'm a father, I really can't fathom this, but, he let me live alone. So I lived alone. That was a very lonely time during my life, very challenging time. And again, I just learned to depend on the Lord, and that's who I had. That's who I depended on. I've always had faith, and I've always believed in the gospel and in the restoration. One day at high school, seminary class, our seminary teacher, he'd spent a week or two reading from a book about Joseph Smith and the martyrdom of Joseph Smith. When he finished, right up to the martyrdom, he finished the book, and I just remember the spirit that was there. He asked us all to stand up and sing praise to the man. And we were a rough bunch of guys at Paiute High at the time. And we all stood up and we sang that, but there was such a strong spirit. And I don't think there was a dry eye in the classroom. And that was the first time where I really got a strong testimony of the role of Joseph Smith in the restoration. My plan was I wanted to be an attorney, go to law school. And so that was my plan, my focus. My wife and I, Angie and I, we went and picked out an apartment. We were going to move to go to law school. And the whole time we were there, I just felt absolutely horrible. And I didn't know why I had just a bad feeling about the whole thing. And I remember waking up the next morning, it was a Sunday, getting ready for church, and I just felt sick about everything. And I went and met with the bishop and asked for his advice. But as I was leaving his office, he called me back in, and he said, "Have you called your dad for Father's blessing?" And I said, "Yeah, I've called my dad. He's going to drive down from Richfield, and he'll be here this afternoon." And he said, "Before he takes his hands off your head, you'll know what you need to do." That afternoon, my dad gave me a blessing. My wife was there, Angie was there with me. and just an apartment here in Cedar City. And my dad didn't say you need to do X, Y, or Z either. But he talked about two things during the blessing. He mentioned teaching, and another part of the blessing he mentioned military intelligence. And during both of those times, my bosom just burned very strongly. So after that blessing was over, I knew that I didn't have clarity on what my way ahead was, what the fork was. But I knew that I needed to figure it out. And I knew something with teaching and something with military intelligence. Lo and behold, within a week and a half, I got a call that somebody dropped out of a class, and if I could show up in the next 2 weeks, I would have a slot to attend my 6-month training. So I said, yeah, we'll do it. So we packed up our car. We drove to Fort Huachuca, Arizona, which is south of Tucson, Arizona. By the time I got done with that training, General Dynamics had offered me a job because of my counterintelligence training to train counterintelligence agents for the U.S. Army, for the Intelligence Center and School, to deploy downrange to Iraq and Afghanistan. So suddenly everything made sense. I think first and foremost, I'd like to be remembered as a good father, someone that loves their family and cares for their family. Like to be remembered as somebody who loves our country and loves their God. So I'd say God, family, and country. Hobbies, I love cars. Cars, trucks, anything that goes along those lines. Classic cars, antique cars, sports cars, 4x4s, whatever. I enjoy baseball. A good friend of mine from high school, my best friend, we go to the different ballparks around the country. So I've been to 23 ballparks. I love Italian food, and I always love a good steak. Lauterbrunnen, Switzerland. Favorite scripture is 2 Nephi 31:20. I'll go where you want me to go. I'd say Give Said the Little Stream, but it's not a hymn. But I do love that song, and I just like Give Said the Little Stream.
Just how kind he was, and he was dedicated to the gospel, and that was really, I loved that about him. We were really good friends for a long time, but he was in the friend zone because he had a girlfriend at the time. And then when they broke up, I was very interested after that. He has a brother with special needs. I thought that was really awesome how he treated his brother when I first got to know him. I just remember one day he was saying how he was going to treat his wife, and we were just friends at the time, and I remember thinking, I wish that was me. He tries really hard, he's a really good dad, and he is always striving to be a better person. He's a really good husband. He puts time in with his kids. I call him the Mike Brady moments. He always tries to give the kids a lesson with everything that happens.